David had been living on this alien world for 3 years. He was the only human for 1,000 miles around. Every day he woke up in his small repair shop and worked on broken machines that people brought to him. Starship parts, old computers, weapons that no longer worked, he fixed them all. It was a quiet life and he liked it that way. He did not want attention. He just wanted to survive. The city around him was beautiful but strange. Tall buildings made of blue stone reached toward the sky. The streets were clean and organized. Everyone here was Draker, tall, powerful beings with scales and wings. They looked like dragons but they could talk and think like humans. David had learned their language slowly over the years. Most Draker ignored him. Some were kind. Others looked at him with fear or anger because he was different. On this particular morning, David was fixing an old power generator when he heard something unusual. Loud horns echoed through the city streets. He had never heard horns like these before. They sounded important, like something big was happening. David went to his shop window and looked outside. A long procession was coming down the main street. Hundreds of guards in silver armor marched in perfect lines. They carried long spears that gleamed in the sunlight. Behind the guards came a large, ornate vehicle made of silver and blue metal. It was covered in decorations and jewels. The Draker people on the streets stopped what they were doing and bowed deeply as the procession passed. David's heart began to beat faster. Something important was definitely happening. The procession stopped right near his shop at the medical building next door. Guards formed a circle around the vehicle. Slowly, carefully they opened the side. A massive figure emerged. It was the Dragon Lady. David had seen pictures of her before in books and on screens. She was the ruler of the entire Draker kingdom. She had lived for over 2,000 years. Her scales were supposed to be brilliant blue, shining like sapphires in the sun. But the Dragon Lady that David saw now was different. Her scales were dull and gray. Large black cracks spread across her body like a disease. The corruption was everywhere, on her neck, her arms, her wings. She could barely walk. Guards had to support her on both sides as she moved toward the medical building. David watched as Princess Elena, the Dragon Lady's daughter, walked beside her mother. Elena's face was full of worry and sadness. Her scales, which should have been bright and beautiful, seemed darker too. She held her mother's hand as they entered the building. Even from far away, David could see that Elena was crying. The guards closed the building entrance. Doctors and nurses rushed inside. The procession disappeared from view. David stood at his window for a long time just thinking. He had heard rumors about the Dragon Lady's illness. People said she had a special kind of corruption that could not be healed. The best doctors in the kingdom had tried everything but nothing worked. The corruption was spreading slowly day by day, taking her strength away. Everyone knew that the Dragon Lady was dying. David felt something strange in his chest. It was sadness but also something else. It was a feeling that he should do something to help. This feeling was very strong. For hours David tried to work. He tried to focus on fixing the power generator. But he could not concentrate. He kept thinking about the Dragon Lady lying in the medical building next door. He kept thinking about Princess Elena's sad face. He kept thinking about death coming slowly day by day. Finally, David could not sit still anymore. Something inside him was pulling him toward the medical building. He did not know why. He was just a human, a nobody in this world. He had no medical training. He had no special powers. He could not do anything to help. But still, the feeling grew stronger and stronger until David could not ignore it anymore. He stood up, left his shop, and walked toward the medical building. The guards at the entrance saw him coming. They were large and strong with weapons at their sides. They did not look happy to see him. One guard stepped forward and put his hand on David's chest, stopping him from going further. "No humans allowed," the guard said in a deep, rough voice. David's heart was pounding. He was afraid. These guards could hurt him very easily if they wanted to. But he did not turn back. Instead, he spoke in a calm voice. "Please," David said. "I just want to help. Please let me see her." The guard laughed. "Help? You are just a weak human. You cannot help the Dragon Lady." But David did not move. He stood there quietly, looking at the guard with honest eyes. The guard saw something in David's face, something real and true. Perhaps the guard saw that David's offer came from his heart, not from pride or ambition. Whatever the reason, the guard stepped to the side. David walked into the medical building. Inside, the air was cool and smelled like medicine. White lights shone from the ceiling. Doctors and nurses stood around, looking worried and tired. They did not stop David. Maybe they did not notice him. Maybe they simply did not care. David walked deeper into the building until he found a large room. In the center of the room, the dragon lady lay on a stone table. She was still and quiet. Her breathing was very slow and very shallow. Her eyes were closed. She looked almost dead already. Princess Elena stood beside her mother, holding her hand. She looked up as David entered. At first, her face showed confusion. Then she showed fear. But then, somehow she seemed to understand. She did not stop David. She simply watched. David approached the table slowly. He was shaking now. His hands were wet with sweat. He did not know what he was doing. He did not have a plan. All he had was the feeling in his chest telling him to help. He reached out his hand and gently placed it on the dragon lady's scaled forearm. The moment his human skin touched her skin, something incredible happened. A bright golden light burst out from where they touched. The light was so bright that everyone had to cover their eyes. The light filled the entire room like the sun had fallen inside the building. The black corruption on the dragon lady's body began to disappear. It melted away, evaporating like smoke. Her scales changed from dull gray back to brilliant, shining blue. Her breathing grew deeper and stronger. Her eyes opened slowly and she looked directly at David. Everyone in the room gasped at the same time. The dragon lady was healing. The impossible was happening. The golden light faded away slowly. David pulled his hand back from the dragon lady's arm. He was breathing heavily and his mind felt confused. He did not understand what had just happened. His hand was tingling with a strange feeling, like electricity running through his skin. The dragon lady sat up on the stone table. Her movements were smooth and powerful, so different from before. She looked at her own body with wonder. The black corruption was completely gone. Her scales shone with a brilliant blue color that seemed to glow from inside. She flexed her wings and they opened fully, strong and beautiful. She had not been able to do that in many years. Princess Elena let out a cry of joy. She ran to her mother and hugged her tightly. Tears of happiness streamed down her face. The doctors and nurses in the room stood frozen, their mouths open in shock. No one moved. No one spoke. Everyone just stared at what had happened. One of the older doctors finally stepped forward. He was very tall, with silver scales and kind eyes. His name was Dr. Harrow. He had been trying to heal the dragon lady for 5 years without success. "This is impossible," Dr. Harrow said quietly. "I do not understand. The corruption is gone. Completely gone. How is this possible?" The dragon lady climbed down from the table and stood on the ground. She walked across the room without any help, her movements strong and confident. She felt her face with her hands. She looked at her arms. She moved her legs. Everything worked perfectly. "I feel wonderful," the dragon lady said, her voice clear and powerful. It was the first time in many years that her voice had sounded so strong. "I feel like I did 200 years ago. The pain is gone. The tiredness is gone. Everything is gone." All eyes in the room turned toward David. The guards moved closer to him, their hands moving toward their weapons. David suddenly felt very small and very afraid. He did not know what these people were thinking. "What did you do to the dragon lady?" one guard asked in an angry voice. "What magic did you use?" "I did not do anything," David said. His voice shook with fear. "I just touched her. I just wanted to help." But the guards did not believe him. They saw a human, a stranger, an outsider, and they saw the dragon lady suddenly healed. To them, something very suspicious had happened. Maybe David had poisoned her before and then given her medicine. Maybe he was a spy from another kingdom trying to trick them. Maybe he had used some kind of forbidden magic. Princess Elena stepped between David and the guards. "Stop," she said firmly. "This man helped our mother. He is not our enemy." The dragon lady raised her hand, and everyone became silent. She looked at David with deep, intelligent eyes. There was no anger in her gaze, only curiosity and gratitude. "Leave us," the dragon lady commanded. Everyone except David and Elena must leave this room. The guards and doctors did not want to obey. They had many questions and many concerns. But the dragon lady was their ruler, and they could not refuse her orders. Slowly they left the room. Dr. Harrow was the last to go. Before he left, he looked at David with a mixture of confusion and wonder. When they were finally alone, the dragon lady studied David very carefully. She walked around him slowly, examining him from every angle. David stood still, not sure what to do or say. "You are human," the dragon lady said. It was not a question. "Yes," David replied quietly. "My name is David. My ship crashed on your world 3 years ago. I have been living here since then, fixing machines in my shop." "Why did you come to help me?" the dragon lady asked. "You do not know me. I'm not your ruler. I'm not your family. I'm simply a Draker and you are human. We are different. David thought about this question carefully. Because you were dying, he finally said. And I did not want you to die. It seemed wrong to just stand and do nothing when I might be able to help. The dragon lady seemed surprised by this answer. She looked at Elena and Elena nodded. Slowly the dragon lady smiled. It was a real smile, full of genuine feeling. Your people are strange, the dragon lady said. They feel compassion even for beings they do not know. This is rare. This is precious. Over the next few hours, the royal physicians came and examined David very carefully. They took samples of his blood. They looked at his DNA through powerful machines. They tested his body for any special abilities or hidden powers. They found nothing unusual. David was just a normal human with normal biology with nothing special about him at all. But the fact remained, wherever David had touched the dragon lady, the corruption had disappeared completely. The healing was real. The impossible had become possible. The news spread through the city like fire. Everyone wanted to know about the human who had healed the dragon lady. Some people thought David was a hero. Others thought he was dangerous. Many people were confused and afraid of something they did not understand. Within one day, the royal council demanded that David be brought to them. The guards came to his small repair shop and told him he must come with them. David was frightened, but he had no choice. They took him away from his quiet life and brought him to the grand palace in the center of the city. The council consisted of 10 of the most powerful Draker in the kingdom. They sat in a large circular room looking down at David from high seats. The head of the council was a very old Draker named Lord Cain. He had golden scales and a stern expression on his face. Tell us, human, Lord Cain said. Why did you heal the dragon lady? What is your real plan? Are you a spy from the northern kingdom? Are you working for our enemies? I am not a spy, David said. I have no plan. I just wanted to help. But the council members did not believe him. They argued among themselves about what should be done with David. Some wanted to keep him locked up. Others wanted to study him like a science experiment. Only a few believed that David had simply acted out of kindness. Then Princess Elena arrived at the council chambers. She walked straight to David and stood beside him. My mother wants to speak with you, Elena told the council. She has a very different story to tell about this human. Princess Elena led David through long corridors decorated with paintings and statues. The palace was enormous and beautiful, but David felt nervous. He did not know what the dragon lady wanted from him. He did not know if he was in danger or safe. They arrived at a private chamber where the dragon lady was waiting. She stood by a large window that overlooked the entire city. Her scales glowed with health and strength. She turned to face David and smiled warmly. Thank you for coming, the dragon lady said. My name is Lyra. I wanted to speak with you privately, away from the council and their suspicions. Why did you call for me? David asked. The council thinks I did something wrong. Lyra gestured for David to sit down. They sat together in comfortable chairs near the window. Elena stood nearby watching everything. I want to understand what happened, Lyra said. I want to know why your touch healed me when no Draker healer could. This mystery is important. If we can understand it, we might be able to help many Draker who suffer from the same corruption that was killing me. I do not know, David said honestly. I do not have any special powers. I am just a normal human. Lyra nodded slowly. Then we must find out together. I am going to bring in my best scientists. Will you help me? David hesitated. He wanted to go back to his quiet life, his small shop, his simple existence. But he saw the hope in Lyra's eyes. He saw that this could mean something important. Yes, David said. I will help. For the next 3 weeks, David worked with the Dragon Lady scientists. They were led by a brilliant Draker woman named Dr. Mara. She was young and curious, with purple scales and very intelligent eyes. Unlike many others, Dr. Mara did not think David was dangerous. She was excited about the mystery they were trying to solve. The scientists took many samples from David's body. They studied his cells under microscopes. They examined his DNA, the code that made him human. They ran tests and created charts and graphs. David sat in laboratories every day while they worked. Dr. Mara worked harder than anyone else. She spent entire nights studying the data, looking for patterns and connections. She compared human biology with Draker biology, looking for similarities and differences. Finally, after many days of work, Dr. Mara called everyone to a meeting. She stood in front of a large screen showing complex diagrams of DNA. I have found something, Dr. Mara said excitedly. Look at this. The human DNA contains sequences that we thought were just useless junk. They do not code for anything that humans need. But when I compare them to Draker biology, they match perfectly with something in our genetic code. Something that relates to how we process and heal corruption. Everyone looked at the screen in amazement. What does this mean? David asked. Dr. Mara turned to face him directly. It means that human DNA and Draker DNA are compatible at a quantum level. They vibrate together in a way that nothing else can. When a human touches a Draker who has corruption, something happens. The human cells communicate with the Draker's cells. The human's natural energy somehow harmonizes with the Draker's life force. The corruption cannot survive this harmony. It simply disappears. But how is this possible? Lyra asked. Humans and Draker are completely different species. We evolved on different worlds. Dr. Mara looked very serious now. There is only one explanation. Long ago, thousands of years in the past, humans and Draker might have come from the same place. We might share a common ancestor. We might have evolved from the same ancient beings, and that ancient connection is still written in our DNA. The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Humans and Draker were not completely different. They were connected by something very deep and very old. David is not special, Dr. Mara continued. All humans have this ability. Any human could heal any Draker in the same way. It is simply a property of human biology. It is something that humans did not even know they had. Lyra looked at David with new understanding. Your people have a gift, she said. A gift that could help my people in ways we never imagined. But then Lord Kane and the council came into the room. They had been listening to everything through a hidden speaker. Their faces were serious and dark. This is dangerous information, Lord Kane said loudly. If other kingdoms learn that humans can heal Draker corruption, they will want to capture and control all human beings. Humans will become the most valuable resource in the entire galaxy. War will come. Slavery will come. Everyone in the room felt afraid suddenly. They had discovered something wonderful, but they had also discovered something terrible. We must keep this secret, one council member said. We must hide David and his knowledge from the rest of the world. We cannot hide the truth forever, Lyra said firmly. But we can control how the truth is shared. We can make sure that humans are treated with respect and kindness, not captured and enslaved. That is foolish, Lord Kane said angrily. Other kingdoms will not care about respect and kindness. They will care only about power and profit. David listened to all of this and he felt very afraid. His simple life was gone forever. His touch had changed everything. The entire future of both humans and Draker now hung in the balance. What do you want to do? David asked Lyra quietly. Lyra looked out the window at her kingdom below. She thought for a long time before answering. I do not know yet, Lyra said. But we will decide together. You will not face this alone, David. That is my promise to you. The sun was setting over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Everything was about to change, but no one could predict how. The next morning, Lyra called David to her private study. It was a beautiful room filled with books and maps and ancient artifacts. Lyra sat behind a large wooden desk, and David sat across from her. Princess Elena stood by the door, watching and listening. I have been thinking all night, Lyra said. I have been thinking about what we discovered and what it means for both our peoples. I want to know what you think we should do. David felt surprised. The dragon lady was asking for his opinion as if his thoughts mattered. I think, David said slowly, that we should tell people the truth. But we should tell them in a way that brings people together, not apart. We should show them that humans and Draker can help each other. We should build friendship, not fear. Lyra nodded. That is what I think too. But it will be very difficult. There are many powerful people who will want to use this discovery for their own benefit. They will want to control humans. They will want to enslave them and use them as tools. Then we must be stronger than them, David said. We must show that there is a better way. Lyra stood up and walked to a window. She looked out at her kingdom for a long time before speaking again. I am going to make you my special advisor, Lyra said. You will help me decide how to share this knowledge with the world. You will help me build a new kind of relationship between humans and Draker. This will be dangerous and you will face many people who do not trust you. But I believe this is important work. David felt honored but also terrified. He was just a simple mechanic. He did not know anything about politics or kingdoms or making big decisions. But he had seen what could happen when people acted with kindness and compassion. He had felt it when he healed Lyra. He believed that if humans and Draker worked together, they could create something beautiful. I will do my best, David said. Over the next few weeks, David and Lyra worked together on a plan. They met with scientists, generals, traders, and politicians. They showed people the evidence about the connection between human and Draker DNA. They explained that humans could help heal the corruption that had plagued Draker for centuries. Some people became excited about this discovery. Others became angry and afraid. Lord Cain and his faction on the council wanted to keep humans under strict control. They wanted to create laws that would force humans to work as healers. They wanted to control where humans could live and what they could do. Lord Cain believed that power came from control and domination. Humans are tools, Lord Cain said during a council meeting. We must use them to strengthen our kingdom. This is how the strong survive. But younger Draker thought differently. They had grown up in a more peaceful time. They believed in cooperation and partnership. They saw humans not as tools but as equals. One young council member named Garrett spoke up loudly against Lord Cain's ideas. If we treat humans as slaves, Garrett said, we will become slaves ourselves. We will become the kind of people who hurt others for power. Is that what we want? Is that the future we want to create? The debate raged in the council for many days. The kingdom became divided. Some cities supported Lyra's vision of cooperation. Other cities supported Lord Cain's vision of control and domination. Then one night Lord Cain made his move. He gathered his supporters and planned to take control of the kingdom by force. He wanted to arrest Lyra and place himself on the throne. He wanted to make himself ruler of the Draker and controller of all humanity. But Lyra learned about the plot. She called David to her chambers late at night. They are coming tomorrow, Lyra said calmly. Lord Cain and his soldiers will try to arrest me. They will try to stop everything we have been working toward. What will you do? David asked, his heart pounding with fear. I will not run, Lyra said. I will not hide. But I will not fight either. Instead, I will tell the truth to all my people. I will let them decide what kind of future they want. The next morning Lyra made an announcement. She called everyone in the kingdom to gather in the great square in the center of the city. Thousands of Draker came. Some supported her. Some supported Lord Cain. All of them wanted to hear what she had to say. Lyra stood on a high platform so everyone could see and hear her. David stood beside her and so did Elena. Lord Cain stood on the opposite side with his armed soldiers. I want to tell you something important, Lyra said, her voice strong and clear. We have discovered something amazing. Humans and Draker share a deep connection. We come from the same ancient roots. A human's touch can heal our corruption and save our lives. The crowd murmured with shock and confusion. Now, Lyra continued, we have a choice to make. We can use this discovery to control and enslave humans. We can become the kind of people who hurt others for power. Or we can build something different. We can create partnerships with humans based on respect and kindness. We can become friends instead of masters and servants. Lord Cain stepped forward. The Dragon Lady is weak, he shouted. She wants to give away our power to humans. I say we should control humans and use them to make ourselves stronger. That is how kingdoms survive. The crowd looked confused. They did not know who to believe. Then David did something unexpected. He walked to the edge of the platform and looked down at all the people gathered below. I am just a simple human, David said, his voice smaller but sincere. I do not have special powers. I do not have armies or weapons. All I did was touch someone who was dying and try to help them. That is all any of us can do. We can help each other or we can hurt each other. The choice is ours. Something about his simple, honest words touched the hearts of the Draker people. They had heard many speeches from many powerful leaders. But they had never heard such simple truth spoken with such genuine feeling. Slowly, the younger Draker began to move toward Lyra's side. Then more people joined them. More and more of the crowd showed their support for cooperation and partnership. Lord Cain saw that he was losing. He became angry and ordered his soldiers to attack. But the soldiers hesitated. They looked at each other and at the massive crowd. They realized that if they fought, many people would be hurt. They realized that their orders were wrong. One by one, the soldiers put down their weapons and stepped away from Lord Cain. He stood alone, his plan destroyed, his power gone. Lyra looked at him with sadness, not anger. You are free to leave, she said. But you will leave alone. The kingdom has chosen a different path. Lord Cain turned and walked away into the crowd, disappearing from view. The people cheered for Lyra. They also cheered for David. In that moment, everything changed. The age of human slavery was prevented before it could even begin. The age of partnership and cooperation had begun. Elena came to David and hugged him. You saved us all, she whispered. David shook his head. No, he said. We saved each other. That is what partnership means. 6 months had passed since the great gathering in the square. David stood at the entrance of a new building that looked like nothing he had ever seen before. It was built with both human and Draker architecture. The walls were made of blue stone like the Draker buildings, but the doors and windows were designed in the human style. A large sign above the entrance read, "The Harmony Medical Center, where two peoples heal together." This was the first of many such centers that would be built across the kingdom and eventually across many worlds. Inside the center, doctors and nurses of both species worked side by side. Some were human. Some were Draker. They wore matching uniforms and worked as equals, not as master and servant. Patients came from all over the kingdom, both humans and Draker who needed healing. Dr. Mara, the scientist who had discovered the connection between human and Draker DNA, was now the director of medical research at the center. She walked through the halls checking on different departments. She stopped at one room where a human nurse named Sophie was teaching a young Draker nurse how to use a medical scanner. "Good morning," Dr. Mara said warmly. "How is the training going?" "Very well," Sophie replied with a smile. "Learning from each other makes us all better at what we do." This was the new way. Humans and Draker learned from each other. They trained together. They worked together. They became friends. In another part of the building, David worked with a group of engineers. Both human and Draker, they were designing new medical equipment that could be used by both species. David found that his mechanical skills were valuable here. His knowledge of fixing broken things helped create new tools for healing. But David also spent time doing something else. He worked with Lyra on building relationships between humans and Draker across the galaxy. They created trade agreements. They established human settlements that were protected and respected. They made sure that humans would never be enslaved or controlled. Not everyone was happy about these changes. In some distant kingdoms, rulers like Lord Cain still existed. They believed in power through control and domination. They did not want to accept that humans and Draker were equals. Some of them tried to capture humans and use them as slaves. But Lyra sent out warning messages, and other kingdoms came to protect human settlements. Slowly, one kingdom after another joined the movement toward partnership and peace. It did not happen overnight. There were still conflicts and disagreements. But the basic idea was spreading. Humans and Draker could work together and help each other. One day David received a message. It was from the salvage company that had been working to repair his original ship. They had found the vessel buried deep under sand and rock. They had worked for months to clean it and fix it. After 3 years on this alien world, David's ship was finally ready to fly again. David felt a strange mixture of emotions when he read this message. Part of him was happy. He could finally go home. He could see Earth again. He could tell his people about everything that had happened here. But another part of him felt sadness. This world had become his home. The people here had become his family. He went to find Lyra in her study. She was reading reports about new human settlements that were being built in the southern regions. When David entered, she looked up and smiled. "I received a message today," David said. "My ship is ready. I can go home now." Lyra's expression became sad, but she did not try to stop him. She had known this day would come. "When will you leave?" Lyra asked. "I do not know," David said honestly. "I want to go home. I want to see Earth and my family. But I also want to stay here. I want to see this new partnership grow and become stronger." Lyra stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the city, which now had both human and Draker people living together peacefully. "You do not have to choose," Lyra said. "You can go home and come back. You can travel between worlds. You can be a bridge between two peoples just as you have always been." Elena came into the room then. She had been living with her mother in the palace, helping to lead the kingdom toward this new future. When she saw David, her face lit up with joy. "David," Elena said, running to him. "I heard your ship is ready. Are you leaving us?" "For a while," David said. "But I will come back. I promise." Elena hugged him tightly. "You have to come back," she said. "There is so much more work to do. We are just beginning." David hugged her back. "I know. And I will be here for all of it." The day David was scheduled to leave, thousands of people came to say goodbye. Humans and Draker stood together, holding signs that said, "Safe travels," and "Come back soon." Dr. Mara gave him a gift. A crystal containing samples of both human and Draker DNA, carefully preserved. "Show this to your people," Dr. Mara said. "Show them that we are not so different. Show them that connection is possible." Sophie and other human engineers had created a beautiful gift too. They had restored David's personal tools and packed them carefully in a special case. These were the tools that had served him well in his repair shop for 3 years. Lyra walked with David to the ship. The vessel gleamed in the sunlight, completely repaired and ready for the long journey back to Earth. "Thank you," Lyra said simply. "You came to our world by accident. You stayed out of kindness. You changed our entire future by simply being human and caring about others." David did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as someone important or special. He was just a mechanic who had touched a dying dragon lady and tried to help. "You changed me too," David said. "You showed me that kindness and cooperation can be more powerful than fear and control. You showed me a better way to live." They embraced one final time. Then David walked up the ramp into his ship. He sat in the pilot's seat and began the startup sequence. The engines hummed to life. The ship began to rise slowly into the sky. As the planet below grew smaller and smaller, David looked down at it one last time. He thought about everything that had happened. A simple accident had become a revolution. A moment of compassion had changed the course of history. The ship entered space and Earth appeared on the screen ahead. Home was calling him back. But David knew that he would return to the world below. He knew that his journey had only just begun. 2 peoples had learned to work together. 2 species had learned to see each other not as enemies or tools, but as equals and partners. And it had all started with one human mechanic who simply cared enough to reach out and touch a dying dragon lady.